Greetings, what's going on, guys? Sorry about the lateness. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. And we were talking about climate change news of the day. I got some really high-tech graphics going on right here.
Just as we go in search of climate change.
Did you like that? Did you even see that? I'll play it again later. Yeah, lots of chatters in the chat on YouTube. And Rockfin as well. We got 10 watching on Rockfin. That's great. We got Raza. We got Laura Neufeld, who said she is a Rockfin snob, and I'm liking that. Rockfin snobbery. Kevin Chanholzer, William Moy, Irk1, Urban Hermit, hanging out with me on Rockfin. Come hang out with me on Rockfin, ROKFIN.com. Please like up the video wherever you're at, Rockfin or YouTube. Please like it up, like it up. All right, so let's get into it. I was just actually commenting before the show in the chats. I'm going to go back here and see if there was a response. But so everybody say what's up to Black Bear Links. Say what's up to Black Bear Links. So Auckland locked down the entire city because of one COVID case. Okay. What do you think that's an overreaction? I mean, I don't know. Do you think that's a little extreme? One case and they lock down the whole city. So, I mean, is that what you're going to do? I mean, I could see maybe that happening if you found a case of Ebola just out in the wild, somebody with Ebola. And I've heard that has been the reaction like in Australia as well, right? It's over the top. There's like 3 or 4 cases. Let's lock everything down. You know, I don't. I'm asking the question if you think that is a logical response. I mean the effect of it might be that you don't have, you lock down a whole city because of one COVID case, you stamp that COVID out right away. So I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just asking the question if you all think that might be a little overdone. You don't think they could just quarantine that one person away instead of lock down an entire city? Do you think they could just quarantine that person? Like, hey, buddy, I'm sorry to tell you, we're gonna put you in a hotel for a couple of weeks and just hang out here. No, you don't think they could do it like that? I don't know. I feel as if that just might be a little bit much. And then, here's the other thing, and I didn't really intend for this to become a discussion on COVID, but do you do that every single time a case shows up? Does that happen in perpetuity, right? Like just on and on and on forever, right? There are all these mutations, there's, different cases. So, apparently New Zealand stamped it out and there was no more COVID. But there was one case of COVID, locked down the city. Here we go. Lockdown for how long? 2 weeks? Do you think that's going to be difficult to continue to have, if that just happens over and over and over and over again, is that difficult to have some kind of sense of normalcy? Does lockdown mean nobody goes to school? Does lockdown mean what? I'm assuming lockdown means lockdown. You can't just put that person, say, hey, we're gonna take you on a private cruise on a boat for a couple of weeks. It's gonna be fun. I got a friend with a yacht. We're just gonna hang out. Something besides locking an entire city down. I don't know. They shut the borders too. Holy crap. I kind of just feel like it's a lot. Lockdowns are fuel for economic degrowth. Indeed. Sure. I don't know. Well, okay. I don't want to get off into a discussion about that, but Jim Pi Gamma, conditioning for authority, or conditioning for things never ever being normal again, right? I just, whatever. But I'd like to, I think later in the week, we're going to have a little discussion around, locking down, not locking down, severe restrictions, not so severe restrictions, and what that means for health, I guess. So Australia hasn't vaccinated many, and New Zealand hasn't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. There's 2 or 3 or 4 cases or 1 case. You can't put those people in quarantine and just say, I don't know. Or, yeah, I guess maybe if they think it's community spread, then they got to lock everybody down. I don't know. I just, I find the reactions and the different reactions of different countries and different states, even, and different people, and even the news around it to be I find it to be interesting. Sometimes eyebrow raising, but interesting nonetheless. All right. Enough said. Let's get on to some news. But before we do that, hold on. All right, so let's get into this. I want to cover. It doesn't matter what type of car you drive. This is from The Independent. It doesn't matter what type of car you drive, its tires are pushing orangutans closer to extinction. And also, you could say primates. You could replace that word orangutans with primates. And you could also replace that word with life on Earth. Sumatran forests are being razed to the ground to be replaced with vast rubber and palm oil plantations. It's from 3 days ago. You might not know that tires from your new electric SUV could be pushing orangutans closer to extinction, or that the wheels on your diesel hatchback are adding to the microplastics in our oceans. You might be blissfully unaware of the potentially harmful effects of microplastics from tires on the lung development of children. Sadly, whether your latest car is electric or fossil fueled, its tires are dishing out a triple whammy, leveling rainforests, polluting our oceans, and damaging human lungs. It's because tires themselves are a complex concoction of natural and synthetic rubber and a host of chemical additives. Chemicals. The natural rubber content varies between 15 to 30%. And tire manufacturing overall consumes about 70% of global natural rubber production. 70%, it's a lot. The explosion in the human population, this is a very interesting part of this article, is that they talk about population as if it's a thing that actually exists. A large human population consuming things might be an issue. So kudos to the Independent for just going straight into that. The explosion in the human population, consumerism, and the global auto industry means that we now consume about 2.84 billion new tires every year. Natural rubber comes from the rubber tree. It grows well in tropical climates, and most production comes from Southeast Asia. The rubber plantations that produce a staggering 13.6 million tons of rubber annually cover an estimated 12 million hectares, 6 times the size of Wales. In 2015, a University of East Anglia report predicted that just 1 decade's growth in rubber demand would require the clearing of an area of land and rainforest 4 times the size of Wales. Precious rainforests in Cambodia, Thailand, Myanmar, Indonesia, and the Congo are increasingly being lost, threatening some of the richest diversity of mammal populations left on Earth. And deforestation at 10% is one of the leading causes of climate destruction, according to the UN. In Sumatra, this deforestation threatens the Sumatran orangutan with extinction. In 1900, there were 85,000 Sumatran orangutans spread across the island, with a human population of 3 million, or 3.2 million. But there are now less than 15,000 orangutans. And a population of 58 million humans. So see how that correlation goes there? Again, the correlation to being 96% of mammals and their livestock that feed them are humans, and the livestock that feed them. 96% of mammals and 4% of mammals are wild animals. But there are now less than 15,000 orangutans and a population of 58 million humans. The greatest threat to orangutans is habitat loss. The Sumatran forests are being razed to the ground to be replaced with vast rubber and palm oil plantations serving the global commodity markets to provide an income to support the hugely expanded human population. I'm going to read that again. To be replaced with vast rubber and palm oil plantations serving the global commodity markets to provide an income to support the hugely expanded human population. All those humans need jobs, right? 58 million humans. They all need jobs. We got to do something. That means destroying shit, selling shit, buying shit, making shit, eating shit, shitting shit. Orangutans are one of our closest cousins, Sharing 97% of our Homo sapiens DNA, they are frugivores and live almost all of their lives in the trees. Females only give birth once every 8 to 9 years, with offspring not reaching adulthood until they are about 16. Every single female lost to poachers or forest fires threatens this critically endangered species survival. I've never had the privilege of meeting an orangutan, but anytime I have seen one look into a camera, I am deeply moved by how it exudes an ancient forest wisdom. No wonder the Malay word orangutan means person of the forest. The thought that within a few decades we may lose them all breaks my heart. So why don't we replace natural rubber with synthetic rubber? Tires already contain some synthetic rubber and a host of other chemicals. These include phthalates, sulfonamides, thiazoles, dithiocarbamates, and phenyladiamines. I can't even say it. Phenyladiamines, and heavy metals. All right, those are, these also damage the natural world and human health. As tires wear down, the resulting parts do not simply disappear. Some tire particulates are swept into the air. And we already know that air pollution is a major environmental risk to health. But most of these parts settle back onto the road surface, where they get washed down by rain into the drains, and thus into our rivers and oceans. They've even been found to make up around 10% of all toxic microplastics in our oceans. Tire particles. Delicious. Scientists have identified how these then work their way up the food chain, ending up concentrated in the flesh of larger fish, and thus enter the human diet. A team working in Washington discovered that a single chemical tire additive ending up in their rivers was causing widespread fatalities for their salmon. They're not just killing orangutans. They're destroying the entire environment. Entire, get it? That was a tire joke. What can we do? The most powerful individual action we can take is to create as car-free a lifestyle as we can. Ding, ding, ding. We simply cannot afford to more than double the global vehicle fleet by 2050. Ding, as it switches to more electric vehicles, more. Ding, the amount of natural rubber produced annually has doubled since the year 2000. Doubled. More than doubling it again would guarantee the elimination of the remaining precious scraps of rainforest in the rubber-growing regions, and with them the last remaining orangutan habitats. WWF has been working with some tire manufacturers to persuade them to adopt a zero deforestation rubber standard. What you can do at home is email the manufacturers of your cars and tires and insist that they switch to 100% deforestation-free natural rubber. Better still, because that's going to work. They're totally going to be like, thanks for your letter. Dear so-and-so, we so appreciate you writing into our company to let us know. At this time, we cannot change the ingredients in our car tires because blah, blah, blah. Better still, the use of retreaded tires could slash the number of new tires by up to a factor of 4. Did you know that? But as almost always with ethical consumerism, the most eco-friendly tire is the unbought tire. Man, this is a pretty great article, pretty solid. Donacod McCarthy. Donacod McCarthy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but anyways, thank you. Yeah. Lot of very good truths in there. Hey, let's
join us as we go in search of climate change.
Um, yeah. Yeah, Rudolf Zavedno, we're running out of biosphere to live in. Let's burn some more. Right. Richard Monroe, only solution is a walk everywhere barefoot. Or, let's do things that are just way less impactful than cars, like bicycles, right? Yeah, I know there's rubber on bicycles, but way less rubber and no emissions, almost no emissions, very little. Again, there are so many bicycles on the planet right now. We don't have to even create any more bicycles. We could take all the used and old bicycles and put them back together, clean them up, put them together, give everybody a bike. Everybody's got a bike. Good. You're good to go. But and that's just your car tires. So again, when they're like, yeah, we got to go, gosh, we're going to have all these electric cars. We're going to go green. Guys, we need to transform our energy system and energy grid. Tesla stock is going through the roof. Well, it's been down lately, but you know what I mean? We're gonna mandate that all these new cars be electric. That's how we're gonna go green. Nobody's talking about don't buy cars, don't drive cars, do something else. Anyways, let's move on. This is from Go Green, like having a fox deciding on the future of chickens. Shell, BP, and EasyJet, the big polluters designing the rules for voluntary carbon offsets. Did you guys know this? Did you know? Many of the world's most polluting companies are being handed a get-out-of-jail-free card by being invited to shape a scaled-up offsetting market, campaigners claim. The Task Force on Scaling Voluntary Carbon Markets. That's a great committee to be on. A great task force is due to publish its roadmap for implementation on Wednesday. 4 months after it was launched by former Bank of England Governor Mark Carney, who is now a UN Special Envoy for climate action and finance. Carney's group wants to hugely scale up the existing market, making it large, transparent, verifiable, and robust. Oh, yeah. Use all the good words. And again, all the scientists are, we got to do climate change. We need action soon, and we need some carbon pricing. Yeah, no, we don't. We don't need carbon pricing. We need to degrow the industrial economy. This, it claims, will help private corporations meet the UK's net zero target by 2050. In line with Paris Agreement targets to limit the worst impacts of climate change by restricting global warming to 1.5 C or well below. They did it. Well below 2 C. Good job for getting that well below in there. But they put it in quotes, so that's pretty funny. Quote, unquote, well below. I like it. Well below. Whatever that means. But critics have questioned whether the task force membership, which includes oil majors, banks, and airlines, is best placed to shape the future of that market, given their problematic histories of delivering carbon offsetting projects. The concept of net zero poses a significant challenge to private companies. Indeed, it does, because it's like you gotta keep that creative accounting going, that shell game going. 20 of which have contributed to a third of all global emissions. Because none of them are going to agree, and nobody's going to tell them to their face, like, the thing that we need to do is shut down your companies. Your private companies need to go away. We're going to nationalize them, then dissolve them. Why don't you keep a little money for yourself and go somewhere? Have a good time with that. Nobody will even bring that idea up. And that's the idea that needs to happen. Sorry to say. I know that sounds very Marxist of me, but, if you really want to solve climate change, that's really what's got to happen. And so, the people could do it, the governments could do it, somebody could do it. Yeah, we're seizing your assets, dear Apple, dear Jeff Bezos, dear Elon Musk. We're seizing your assets. We're closing down your company. Take a walk. And we're just going to let this, we're going to we're gonna take apart your buildings and your infrastructure, or we'll just let it, rot in the sun, whatever. I don't know which one is better. Corporations often claim they are using offsets as a last resort. After decarbonization and carbon capture and storage options have been exhausted. But critics say there is limited evidence that counterbalancing carbon dioxide emissions in this way actually works. Limited evidence. The practice of offsetting is itself controversial. Offsetting involves buying a carbon credit, 1 ton of verified carbon dioxide equivalent, which removes, replaces, or avoids the equivalent amount of carbon emitted into the atmosphere. It's basically like, we're going to pollute over here, but we're going to do something nice over here, or we're saying we're doing something nice over here. That's really the key part there. Over here, where you can't see what we're doing, we're just saying we're doing it. We're going to offset this carbon that we're emitting over here, okay? All right, that's how it works. Interest in the voluntary carbon market, which allows buyers to offset some of their greenhouse gas emissions, has correspondingly surged as businesses look for ways to rapidly slash their overall carbon footprint, except for close their doors. Shut down your business. Stop going forward. Your business doesn't need to exist. Just stop it. Just go away. I don't know. I'll stop saying that over and over. Latest figures from nonprofit forest trends show corporate carbon neutral pledges led to transactions of carbon credits surging to cover 104 million tons of carbon dioxide in 2019. But the effectiveness of forest offsets traded through the UN's existing REDD Plus program, the acronym to describe reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation, and the role of conservation, sustainable management of forests, and enhancement of forest carbon stocks in developed countries, blah, blah, has plagued the existing voluntary carbon market, along with concerns over lack of regulation. Carney has cited these concerns as a motivating factor for the task force, acknowledging that the current market is opaque, cumbersome, and fragmented, with a recent Telegraph investigation calling it a wild west of ineffective schemes. How are those carbon offsets going for you? All right, cool. Guys, it's totally going to be great. A number of green NGOs are involved in funding and overseeing the task force. But this hasn't stopped it being accused of corporate capture, with companies with mixed records on offsetting, including oil majors such as Shell, BP, and Total, to airlines like EasyJet and Etihad, and banking groups Merrill Lynch, BNP Paribas, BlackRock, and UBS having a strong presence in the group. Oh yeah, it's awesome that BlackRock is there. That only means that it's totally on the up and up. The world's 7th highest historic polluter has long bought credits from accredited REDD Plus projects, predominantly from the Ketingin Mentaya project in Indonesia and the Cordillera Azul National Park in Peru. Both projects are designed to conserve carbon stocks in existing forest reserves, but their effectiveness has been highly contested. In 2019, a joint Dutch and Indonesia investigation into the Contingin Mentaya project highlighted an increase in forest fires and land conflict around the project area, concluding that proving the permanent avoidance of carbon emissions was nearly impossible. According to the article, International Banking Group and Task Force member BNP Paribas also purchased carbon credits from the project. Another investigation by Danish journalists in December 2020 looked at the Cordillera Azul National Park in Peru, quoting experts who also said deforestation had increased directly outside the Red Plus zone, and major forest fires had broken out inside the project area, a common criticism of Red Plus projects. Shell has also been criticized for projects closer to home after announcing a number of new offset projects as part of a $300 million investment in natural climate solutions. Last year, it emerged that Scottish government officials warned each other that partnering with Shell to fund forests for carbon offsetting would be seen as greenwashing, before ultimately accepting £5 million for the Million Tree Project. That initiative feeds into Shell's Drive carbon neutral program by creating 250,000 credits towards offsetting customer emissions. Wow. The scheme, now in the UK, the Netherlands, Canada, Germany, and Denmark, has faced ongoing criticism, with experts asking whether it encourages rather than prevents a business as usual attitude among corporations and individuals. I don't know. Shell's new nature-based unit, whatever that means, has been undeterred by external criticism, recently acquiring Select Carbon, which works with landowners to improve the carbon yield of 9 million hectares of land in Australia. It has even started selling its own nature-based credits. Last week, airline Etihad, also a task force member, announced it was expanding its current offset program to include Shell's projects in the Contingin Mentaya, as well as the Cordillera Azul in Peru. Defending its record on carbon offsetting, Shell told DeSmog independent third-party verification companies evaluate and review the projects regularly to assure CO2 reductions are real. Shell only trades credits that have been assessed by independent third-party processes. I don't know if I'm going to read this whole thing, guys. It's pretty long. But you get the picture, I think. We'll go to the end here. Lack of transparency. Stop it. Campaigners are concerned that the company's problematic past experiences of carbon sequestration and offsetting programs mean some of the task force members are not best placed to make strong recommendations for an effective voluntary carbon market. Giles Dufresne, policy officer at NGO Carbon Market Watch, says the key challenge for the task force is to get their priorities straight. He told DeSmog the key objective should be to drive more finance towards concrete mitigation projects that deliver emission reductions and benefit local people and the environment. The task force places a lot of emphasis on increasing the volume of transactions in the market. I think we shouldn't assume that more transactions necessarily translate into more emissions reductions. There are still legitimate concerns about the integrity and transparency of voluntary markets. For example, some projects issue more credits than they actually reduced emissions. And there is a lack of information regarding who buys which credits at what price. The task force should make sure that it is not about to scale up a non-functional system and therefore needs to put more emphasis on transparency and quality, or qualité, whatever you like. All right. Well, there you go. You feel better about it? I do. I certainly do. Feeling better about those carbon markets. We need carbon pricing. Here's some carbon pricing. If you make gasoline $30 a gallon, people are going to stop driving really quick. That's one way to do it. Wendy DeLeese says they say there could be an especially severe drought layer this year in 2021. I wonder what percentage of those newly planted trees in Albuquerque will survive 2021. Yeah, good question. I'll say, so we've had a little bit of a reprieve. It was really hot in Los Angeles a couple of years ago, pretty steadily over a few summers. And over the last like 2 years, we've had, maybe it's due to La Nina or whatever, I'm not sure. Last 2 summers, we've had a little bit of a reprieve on the serious heat. So a lot of the trees and the foliage has bounced back a little bit. But man, a couple of years ago, it was looking real scary. And still on my street, I was counting the number of dead trees on my street, just on my block. There's more than 10. And all of those are recent. And then somebody planted a tree to replace a big, huge dead tree that was taken out. And that tree died, like really in short order, that tree died. So yeah, good question, Wendy DeLeese. And it's happening all over. Groot, how you doing? Hello. Sandy, thank you for the super chat. She says, we help each other. Love you, Kev. Love you too, Sandy. Judy Truitt says, we had no monsoons last year. First I remember in 30 years. Salt Laker says, I tuned into this broadcast because I thought I could find a place to buy genuine orangutan 6-ply monster truck tires. There's a link. There's a link below. You can find them. Yeah, the trees are in decline, and I have to tell you, it's a pretty shocking thing if you actually take notice of it. If you actually open your eyes and examine the world around you, which a lot of people don't do because people are in their houses or in their cars, or they're just they're looking at their phones and they're just like not paying attention. But we've had a decimation of the trees in our area in the last 5 years. Decimation. Duncan McCown, you can always cultivate rock gardens. Thank you. That's, yeah. I don't know if I honestly can't remember whether we covered this yesterday. I thought I had it in my queue and I thought that I talked about it, but I guess I didn't. Please let me know if I'm wrong about that. But another chunk of Antarctica, out of Antarctica, a large iceberg 20 times the size of Manhattan broke off the Brunt ice shelf in Weddell Sea of Antarctica today. This is yesterday. The iceberg is about 490 square miles. Iceberg, I thought we talked about this. Man, I'm losing my mind because I feel like I'm saying the same things every single day. So I can't remember one day to the next whether I talked about a news story or not. The iceberg is about 490 square miles. 490 square miles of iceberg. That is a big-ass iceberg and about 492 feet thick. Just broke off of Antarctica. And, we can all surmise why that's happening. I think we can. Oops, press the wrong button. Press the wrong button. Don't do that. Here's this button.
Join us as we go in search of climate change.
I don't know. I'm getting a kick out of that really stupid thing that I made. Sandy is talking about oceans tonight on an environmental coffee house. Everybody hang out with Sandy and the crew in an environmental coffee house. They're going to talk about oceans. Judy Truitt said the news commentator today said this is part of a normal process. I know. Yeah, and I saw that, this is normal. It happens. Okay. Okay. It had nothing to do with climate change, Duncan McCown. Yeah. It's not like the oceans are getting warmer. It's not like the atmosphere is getting warmer. It's not like have global warming. Nah, this isn't because of climate change. It just would happen anyways. Okay. Snake 1974 says, I live in a forest 60 kilometers from Montreal, and I can say 50% of the trees are dead or dying. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you, for the people that have been following the show for a couple of years, if you all remember that I used to walk around town or drive around town or walk around town and take pictures of the trees dying. And there was a time, 2 or 3 years ago where it was really, really bad. So we had a little bit of a reprieve the last 2 summers, and they cleared a lot of like the dead trees out. They took them out. So now things look a little bit better. It doesn't look quite as scary as it used to look, but I mean, just again, walking out just out onto my street, I can look out and there's just like dead tree, dead tree, dead tree, dead tree, dead tree, dead tree. And those are all recently dead. But yeah, Snake 1974, I believe it. Poppy Davis says nothing will fundamentally change. According to the nice doddering old man, nothing will fundamentally change. That's great, Joe. Go have a cup of hot chocolate. All right, guys, that about does it for me. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. I will not be doing a neorealism today, but I'll be back tomorrow. Until next time,